William Barclay, a Scottish theologian, tells the story of an old rabbi who was in a Roman prison. He was on a minimal ration of food and water. It was just enough for him to survive. As time passed, the rabbi grew weaker and weaker. Finally, it became necessary to call a doctor. The old man's problem was diagnosed as dehydration. The doctor's report confused the prison officials. They couldn't understand how the rabbi could be dehydrated. Although his daily ration of drinking water was minimal, it was adequate. The guards were told to watch the old man closely to see what he was doing with his water. It was then that the mystery was solved. The guards discovered that the rabbi was using almost all of his water to perform religious ritual washings before he prayed and before he ate. As a result, he had little water left to drink. This story helps us appreciate better today's gospel. It helps us understand better the shock and dismay Jewish leaders felt when they saw the disciples of Jesus eat without performing the ritual washings. This is what makes today's gospel reading so important. It focuses on one of the basic disputes between Jesus and the Jewish leaders. Let's take a closer look at what this particular dispute involved. When Jews talk about the law, they mean one of two things: either the written law or the oral law. The older and more important of these two is the written law. It is set down in the Torah, that is, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. It is sometimes called the Law of Moses. Some of these laws are concrete and specific. Others are very general, more like norms than laws. For a long time, Jews were content with the general norms. They applied them to their lives as they see fit. Beginning with the 5th century before Jesus, however, they emerged in Israel a group of legal experts called scribes. They felt the general norms were too vague and should be spelled out more in detail, and they proceeded to spell them out. This gave rise in the second set of laws, the oral laws or oral traditions. About the same time, there arose on the part of many Jews the desire to imitate the ritual holiness of their priests. For example, according to the written law, ritual hand washing was required of all priests before they entered the temple sanctuary. Its purpose was to wash away all ritual uncleanliness so that they could worship God more worthily. Gradually, the people began to imitate the priests and wash their hands before praying. In a similar way, the practice of washing before meals evolved. By the time of Jesus, Jews observed these oral traditions just as minutely and faithfully as they did the written law of the Torah. The idea behind all these observations was noble. It was to try to make religion permeate every action of the day. But in some course of trying to do this, something tragic happened. Slowly, religion began to degenerate into an activity of performing external rituals. To observe these rituals was to please God. Not to observe them was to sin. In short, observing these external rituals became identified with being religious and serving God. To illustrate the danger of such legalism, William Barclay points out that theoretically, someone might hate another with all his heart, but that did not matter, so long as he carried out the correct hand washings and observed the correct laws about cleanliness. It was confusing. To make this point clear, Barclay tells a story, probably apocryphal, about a Muslim pursuing an enemy to kill him. In the midst of the chase, the public call to prayer sounded. Instantly, the Muslim got off his horse, unrolled his prayer mat, knelt down, and prayed the required prayers as fast as he could. Then he leaped back up on his horse and continued his pursuit. It was precisely this kind of legalism that Jesus opposed so vigorously. How does all of this apply to us? It warns us that we too must guard against identifying religion with performing external acts. For example, going to church, saying prayers, reading the Bible, and giving to charity do not in themselves guarantee holiness. The reason is obvious. We can do all these things for the wrong reason. We can do all these things, but in an unloving way. What counts is not what we do. What counts is the love in our heart that motivates us to do what we do. If our heart is filled with bitterness or pride, then all the external practices in the world won't make us holy before God. Today's gospel, my brothers and sisters, invites us to look into our heart and ask ourselves, to what extent do the words in today's second reading apply to us? Do not deceive yourselves by just listening to God's word. Pure and genuine religion is this: to take care of orphans and widows, and to keep oneself from being corrupted. Or to what extent do these words of Isaiah, which Jesus cites in today's gospel, apply to us? These people honor me with their words, but their heart is really far away from me. In short, what counts in religion is not what we do, but why we do it. What counts is the love in our hearts, love of God and love of neighbor. Let me close by reading prayerfully Paul's famous words about love in his first letter to the Corinthians. I may have the gift of inspired preaching. I may have all the faith needed to move mountains. But if I have no love, I am nothing. I may give away everything I have. But if I have no love, this does me no good. Love is patient and kind. It is not jealous or conceited or proud. Love is not ill-mannered or selfish or irritable. Love does not keep a record of wrongs. Love never gives up. Love is eternal. It is love, then, that you should strive for.